It's very malleable, like undulating. Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. I am Ren, also known as Strawberry Loli, also known as your friendly neighborhood Slytherin. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Opal of My Eye collection from Colourpop. I purchased the two pressed powder eyeshadow palettes in the 9-pan format here. What the Shell, which is this nice bright corally peachy color story, and Shell Shocked, this mermaid blue and kind of sandy color theme. Obviously, Shell Shocked is the one I have on my eyes today. I am loving these mermaidy, turquoisey blue looks on the eyes lately. And this one even has a pop of lilac in here as well. Yeah, very mermaidy, very summer fairy vibes that I'm going for lately. And then I have the Super Shock highlighter palette or face palette. And this one is called Shell Yeah. Finally, I also picked up the Soul Shimmering Body Powder in Skinny Dipping, which is this gorgeous peachy orange shimmery shade, as you can see. Actually, let me just get this one out of the way first, since I don't plan to be using it in today's video or ever really. It's a shame because, as you can see, this does look beautiful on the skin. It's very, very pigmented for a body powder, I think, but yeah, you can definitely sheer it out, I think, and it'll just give you that glistening, goddessy, peachy glow. The texture is like that Super Shock formula texture, powder and cream hybrid, almost clay-like, same as the highlighter palette and some of the shades from the eyeshadow palettes. Why am I saying that I would likely never use this on my actual body? Well, the thing about this powder is it just has that overwhelming, suffocating vanilla scent, like artificial vanilla scent, that I really, really do not like. I absolutely cannot stand. Plus, the packaging is very, very cheap and flimsy. It's hard to open up too. Like, I don't know why the design is so bad. Once you snap it closed, it's hard to kind of hook your finger underneath and get it back open. Yes, the case does have a purple iridescence to it, but that doesn't make it any better quality in my opinion. Like, you can tell that this Soul body powder logo is going to rub off soon. It wasn't even that cute to begin with. I know that this is just how Colourpop is. They rarely ever change their base packaging style, even throughout so many collaborations and collections at this point, and usually I wouldn't care, but I realized that this body powder actually retails for $14, which is more than the eyeshadow palette even. These are $12 a pop. So yeah, this is $14, which works out closer to almost 2,000 yen because the Japanese yen is so weak right now. I probably should have checked that at the time of purchase. I wasn't really looking at the prices. Yeah, because if I knew earlier how expensive this one product is and how it's not even that great, it's really just the scent that ruins the whole thing. Like, I'm being perfectly honest here. Yeah, if I knew the price earlier, I probably would have passed on this altogether. It does look beautiful though. I will give it that. It has a beautiful finish. So if anyone wants this, hit me up on IG, I guess. It's barely touched. I just used it for a swatch pretty much, and that's it. Okay, moving on to the eyeshadow palettes. Each of them contain satin pearl, matte sparkle, metallic matte, and tie-dye finishes. So the tie-dye are obviously the shadows in the center of each palette. These are actually a lot of eyeshadows out there that have this similar sort of tie-dye or intricate design. I find that a lot of them are pretty gimmicky, and at the end of the day it just mixes into one blah color, but these actually do somewhat maintain their tie-dye status. There's also a mix of a lot of different shimmers in there, so I feel like these are actually pretty impressive, you know, delivering on the tie-dye promise. And then the rest are just a mix of pretty much traditional powders along with these jelly Super Shock formulations, including the tie-dye one. There's 3 in each palette. I guess these would be called satin pearl. Anything that has this semi-creamy bouncy formulation, I am just going to refer to as Super Shock from here on out. The ones on the top left here in both palettes, I feel like they are just duds. Yeah, they're inconsistent with the other Super Shock formulations. Like, it's just really hard to pick up the product, and the finish is really on the subtle side, which you personally may like, but for me, I just feel like the other 2 Super Shocks in the palette are so much more vivid and shiny. I'm gonna gravitate to those every time over the subtle shimmer option. Yeah, so let me just cut to the chase. Shell Shocked right here, this might very well be my favorite eyeshadow palette from Colourpop so far. I just have to say, again, this turquoise beachy aesthetic is so up my alley right now. Perfectly characterizes the whole opal theme of this collection, and it's exactly what I imagine my summer to look like, especially when I get down to Okinawa, which I am leaving for on the 28th. Where did July even go? Like, it's crazy. But yeah, both of these palettes really, I mean, they're just so juicy and great for bright, colorful summer looks. Although packaging wise, these are very akin to the K-Beauty clear case 9-pan palette aesthetic, I am happy to report that the formulations still stay true to a more Western style of eyeshadow formula in terms of being very pigmented and opaque, which I personally really enjoy. I mean, I get in the mood for sheerer Asian style eyeshadow formulations from time to time, of course, but at the end of the day I realized I am a pigmentation girl. It makes sense because I do a lot of YouTube content, Instagram content, and even dance videos. I have to go extra hard on the days that we shoot dance videos to make sure that my makeup even shows up, right? Especially if we're outside, like forget it. With the sun washing out your face, you can honestly like drown your face in color and it will come across in the video as natural makeup, okay? Trust me. The biggest discovery that I made throughout testing this Opal of My Eye collection is that I feel like I finally understand what Colourpop's Super Shock formulation is all about. After years of being like not too impressed by Super Shock, or just being a little stumped, you could say, on how to effectively use it, yeah, I could never quite figure it out, because you know there's a segment of the population that swears by Colourpop's Super Shock formula. So it has fans and I knew that they must have a good reason to like it so much, but I was never able to quite understand the hype or figure out how to make it work for me until this collection. So this is good, you know, I feel like it's almost the next development, the next stage in my relationship with Colourpop. We had a stage where we, you know, almost broke up and went our separate ways, but then it was like the relationship was revived and everything was smooth sailing okay for a while after they introduced their 4-pan quads. So many cute collaborations and collections, right? Most of it was stuff that I was actually into. Hello Kitty, astrology, ice cream, whatever. Yeah, we coasted for a while on those because generally I found them all to be pretty good quality for a reasonable price, but they were still not wowing me necessarily, right? With this Opal of My Eye collection, I do feel like our relationship has finally ascended to the next level because for the first time in a long time, I feel like they are actually bringing something new to the table. Like these shimmers that you see on my eyes right now, even on my cheeks, right, from the face palette, these are the work of the Super Shock formulations that I could never figure out in the past, but I've cracked the code now. Let me see if I can explain this correctly. So the way that the Super Shock eyeshadows in particular are looking on my eyes right now, you know, in the center top lid and the tear bag area, inner corner, I do feel that it looks a little more elevated than the effect I can usually achieve with more normal run-of-the-mill, you know, dry powder metallics and shimmers, which I have so many of those in my collection, right? And some are better than others. Like they look glittery and shimmery and great, you know, they catch the light, they're doing what they're supposed to do, but it's not necessarily giving 100%, you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like they just come off a little bit harsh or maybe, I don't know, dry looking on my actual lids. I could never quite put my finger on what the issue is because it's not like I have super aging skin or anything. I mean, I don't have the skin of a 15-year-old, but for the most part it's smooth and normal, right? So I could never figure out why whenever I would do my usual center of the lid glitter or inner corner glitter highlight, whatever powder formulation glittery shade I happen to be using, why does it look like harsh or ashy sometimes? Oh, and then it's especially bad during, you know, when there's times that like you do your makeup in your house under the soft lighting of your apartment or house, but then you step outside in a department store or office or wherever under those bright, unforgiving fluorescent lights, and you catch a glimpse of yourself in a mirror, and it's just like, what is that creature? It's like, that is not how I intended to look, okay? And that is not the look I stepped out of my house with this morning, so what is going on? I say all that to say that in contrast with that experience, which we've all had before, today's look I am super happy with and more satisfied than usual with particularly how my center of the lid highlight and tear bag highlight look. And it's 100% attributable to the Super Shock formulations that they have in these eyeshadow palettes. The way that it gives just enough of a slightly moist or creamy base to retain that sense of hydration on your skin, even though we're talking about potentially harsh looking glitters. Am I making sense? I feel like I'm rambling on forever about this. And I also feel like the Super Shock is more buildable than most powders because, again, it's kind of like cream or clayish in texture. So when you really pack those layers on top of each other, they're going to be opaque. And not only that, they're going to stick to and stay to wherever you initially place them. But because it's cream, it's still like flexible and it moves around with your skin and your expressions. The Super Shock formulation is just giving me that extra pop I need that I feel like a lot of powder formulas, not all of them, but a lot, fall short on. And you know, that pop is especially important for us flatter eyelid girls, okay? We see each other. The only thing, right, it's a messy process to work with Super Shock, for me at least. I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but as you can see in the swatch footage, it's like every time I come across one of the Super Shock pans, you have to press on the pan with a certain amount of force to get the product to actually lift up and give you enough to work with. But then that force simultaneously warps the product because it's creamy and bouncy, right? It's very malleable, like undulating. I think this is most apparent with the highlighter palette right here. See, you can see all my fingerprints. The product does pick up better with a brush than with a finger. This goes for both the highlighter and eyeshadow formulations. So that's good for actual makeup application, but not so much for swatches. Basically, you just have to resign yourself to a messy process whenever you're working with a Super Shock formula. It's gonna constantly move around in the pan, break apart a little bit like Play-Doh or soft clay, and then you just have to kind of patch it all up and pat it down when you're done. In my opinion though, I do think it's worth the trouble once you've learned how to finesse the product to achieve your desired effect on your eyes or cheeks or what have you, which I really do like the way these eyeshadows and even the highlighters look on me today. I really am impressed. I think it's not a bad deal considering how affordable Colourpop is. You could probably find other brands that have a more sophisticated formula that give you the same effect but are cleaner to work with, but then you're most likely going to have to pay for that by way of a premium in price, right? So to me, I feel like even if these Super Shock shadows move around, as long as I can push everything back together and have it stay in the pan at the end of the day, I'm a happy camper. So the highlighter palette, I used this hot pink shade as a blush and the lilac as a highlighter today. All the shades are very shimmery, glowy, and beautiful. However, I can see myself mostly only using the lilac shade over the other colors here. I don't really like gold highlight. Obviously, the peach and pink shades could work as blushes, but since this is officially a highlighter formulation, the base is a little too transparent for my taste as a blush. Like when you blend it out on the skin, it shears out a lot and it's mostly micro glitters. But for me, I really prefer to have that more solid flush of color, especially if I want to use a bolder blush color. Oh, so side note, but this palette is supposed to snap closed. Mine does not though. It's not a big deal because it still closes all the way and stays that way, but again, it's just that annoying little thorn in the side with Colourpop's packaging not being 100% up to par. That being said though, I will say that all the palettes in this Opal collection, I noticed that the edges are more rounded out when compared to some of their other palettes, and I'm thinking of their 4 pans in particular. For example, this quad right here from the astrology collection, this is called Big Leo Energy. Are you guys ready to turn up for Leo season, by the way? We are like deep in the thick of it now, okay? Leo gang, where you at? No, but these quads, you can feel that they actually have quite sharp edges. Like if you were to accidentally hit yourself with one of these corners, you could definitely break skin. But with the Opal collection, you can feel it's definitely more rounded out on the edges. Child safe, always a good thing. Honestly, I wish they could do the same thing for their clear quads because it always did kind of bother me how sharp the edges actually are, but I don't think that would be possible unless they get entirely new molds made, which you know Colourpop is not going to do. Anyway, that is the end of my review on this new Opal of My Eye collection by Colourpop. I'm losing my voice because I've been sitting here talking for over 3 hours and singing along to Elvis Presley songs. What has my life become? Thank you so much for watching. As usual, leave a comment about makeup or life in general. I will catch you in my next video. Bye!